Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is the first video that you are watching. Hello, my name is Lauren and I am a kindergarten teacher here in Illinois. So today's video is going to be a long overdue life update slash Q&A. I mean, it's been, I think, 7 months since I've posted a video here, so I definitely owe y'all a little bit of an explanation, and I'm going to try to catch you up on how my first year in kindergarten was. If you don't know the backstory, I taught first grade previously for 3 years, so this is my first year with the kindies, so I'm going to talk all about that, what's been going on, and just kind of try to answer your questions. I posted a Q&A box on my Instagram, I think maybe last week, and just tried to make note of which questions were pretty frequent. So I am going to try to get to all of those. But before we do that, let's talk about the elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean me at 7 months pregnant. Just kidding. Like the changing pad, you might be thinking where are you? I'm at home, but I am more importantly in my son's nursery. So my husband and I are expecting. I realize now that I never announced that here on YouTube because I hadn't posted a video since before we knew. So we found out in December 5th, actually, I know it because of my dad's birthday, that I was pregnant, and we announced, I think, at 12 weeks, so early February, but it is a boy, and right now it is June 29th, and his due date is August 21st, but we'll talk a little bit more about Lil Man later on in the video. I just wanted to kind of get that cat out of the bag because I'm sure some of y'all probably saw on Instagram and knew, and then some of you guys probably will have no idea. So there is that. Little Man is coming soon. But before we get into pregnancy, and I'm going to talk a little bit about a lot of it about my plans for next year since he is coming right at the beginning of the school year, I wanted to answer first some questions I got about kindergarten. Also, if I'm out of breath while I'm talking, that is because I realized that I'm a very fast talker, and it's never impacted me like it has during pregnancy because you get shortness of breath, your lungs are all pushed up here. So if I'm a little out of breath, that's why. We can blame it on him. Sorry, y'all, had a little pop-up snafu. But anyways, kindergarten versus first grade. I'm gonna start first just with my overall impression. I want to say I had a great school year. I really enjoyed this past year. There were a lot of things that were challenging more because I moved from Massachusetts to Illinois. And even if you're moving to a school down the road, if it's a new district, I'm sure, or even if it's just a new school with new people and new systems, that was a bigger change for me than the grade level, if that makes any sense. That, I think, took up more of my mental capacity, just trying to figure out all of the new everything. The fact I was also in a new grade level maybe didn't help so much with that, but moving schools and just getting acquainted with new systems and new staff and new curriculum and everything, even if I had stayed in first grade, I would have had to do all of that anyway. And that just was a bigger shock to the system. I will say I felt a little bit it was my first year teaching all over again, and not even necessarily because it was kindergarten. It was more so, honestly, because I was relearning how to do my job in this new environment, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was kind of my overall impression. And the school that I was at this past year was very different from where I was teaching in Massachusetts. So just a little bit demographically, in Massachusetts, I was working in a Title I school district, and here I was in a very much more suburban area. So it just was different across the board, very different. So that was that. But kindergarten, I loved it. I thought, as far as content goes, a lot of what I was doing in kindergarten here was kind of similar to what I had been doing in the previous year in first grade. And that is not because Illinois and Massachusetts have super different standards. That was more so because of COVID, because in my last job in first grade, the students that I had in first grade hadn't experienced like full in-person kindergarten. So we were doing a lot of like remediation and closing gaps from the kindergarten year in the first grade classroom, if that makes sense. So it was a lot of like adapting first grade content to close kindergarten gaps so that we could get to the first grade things. And so then this batch of kindergartners, like batch, so to speak, I was working on a lot of the same like initial concepts. So that was interesting that a lot of it had like an overlap. I will say the biggest difference between the two is just the amount of time, and like the social emotional component is so much greater in kindergarten than it was in first grade. So time in the sense that like everything you do just takes more time because they have never really been in that like formal school setting before. I mean, most of mine, I would say all of mine, had gone to some sort of like preschool or some sort of like learning setting, but they'd never been in an elementary school, like trying to get lined up and go here and like just function in a classroom. You just spend a lot more time doing things because it's just, you need explicit modeling and more patience, and we'll try that again. And yeah, a lot of time. And then the social emotional component being like, it's a long day, and they're 5 when you start the year. I mean, they are little. And I just remember there being like so many tired tears in the beginning of the year, just like, oh, it's such a long day. And like, I get it, they're so small, and to expect them to be in school the same amount of time as like our 5th grade students and working, and you know, it's just a lot to demand of such little people. So just a lot more breaks and kind of like building up our learning stamina and building up our like community and their ability to work together with others and to collaborate and to share and just to function as a student. That was a lot more of a priority and for a long time. I don't think we started like reading centers or things like that until I want to say like November. Like it took a long time to kind of get, which is normal. I feel like I hope I didn't take a really long time, longer than anybody else, but it just took longer to get everything like running smoothly, if that makes sense. But I will say, like, of my students, all of them loved being at school and coming to school. So I think taking that time in the beginning of the year to really like emphasize, like, we're gonna rock this year, you guys are all awesome students, like, we're gonna be the best class ever, but like, this is what we have to do. And like, just taking that time to get them there, it was well worth the investment, if that makes sense, because then our class was just functioning like a well-oiled machine. And it was crazy to see their growth. Holy smokes, the growth that you see in kindergarten in writing. Okay, it's every subject, it's like across the board. Also them like reading, their little readers at the end of the year killed me, but their writing, y'all couldn't have warned me. I mean, I like, in a good way. I wish someone would have told me, like a kindergarten teacher, OMG, wait until you see like their beginning of the year writing samples versus the end of the year writing samples. They were writing paragraphs, like opinion writing, stating their opinion, using the word because, giving me good reasons. Like one girl wrote, this is funny because my husband coaches basketball, so this one sticks out in my mind. She wrote a whole paragraph about why she doesn't like basketball, and one of her reasons was that basketballs are orange and she doesn't like the color orange. And I was like, you know what, girl, that's a good reason. But anyways, their writing growth, sorry, there's a train, hold on. Longest train ever. Okay, it's gone. I've like always realized that we live near train tracks, but now that I'm sitting in his nursery and realizing how loud that is through the window, I'm like, ooh, he gonna have to sleep right through it. Anyways, the writing growth was amazing. Kindergarten was awesome. If I had to choose between the two, like kindergarten or first, what do I like better? Honestly, I don't know. Like, I think I like them both. Okay, moving on. The next question that a few of you asked was about moving because, as I mentioned, my husband coaches basketball, NCAA basketball. So right now he is at Northern Illinois University, which is why we moved to Illinois last summer. And coaching is just kind of like a turbulent field, career, industry. I don't know what you would call it, but you move a lot. So naturally people knew that, and we're just saying like, are you guys moving? No.
Here's what I found.
I did not ask you. Okay, does anyone else's Apple Watch do that? Like, she's nosy. Anyways, no, we are not moving. We're still staying here for next year, okay? Okay, the next questions I got a lot of because I posted this Q&A box on Instagram and I had announced my pregnancy on Instagram. I got a lot of pregnancy questions. So let's have a little pregnancy chat. I think I gave you like a little bit of a timeline. So we decided in October that we wanted to start trying to start a family, and we found out December 5th that I was pregnant. So very blessed for that to have happened so quickly, and that is not lost on us. So just a lot of really grateful prayers and just so much happy tears. And like we say all the time, oh my gosh, we're so blessed. So anyways, found out I'm gonna cry. It's so exciting. Okay, we found out on December 5th. I did not like film it or anything. I loved watching those videos, but I didn't want to like film one of us, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes any sense to y'all, but I wanted it to be like a very intimate and like private moment between Jake and I. So I actually found out in the morning, like before I went to school that day to teach. I took a test, and that was not what we had planned, but I just was really excited and I didn't want to wait. We were going to do it together, but I didn't want to wait. And because I worked far away, I always would wake up like before Jake. So it was probably like 5:30 in the morning, and I found out, like I took this test. I was like, oh my God, that's definitely 2 lines. And so Jake is like downstairs asleep still, and I'm upstairs in like my bathroom, and I like screamed. I was like, babe, oh my God. And he like thought something was wrong. He was like, what? And like came upstairs, and then I showed it to him, and I was like, I'm pregnant. And then we both just like, cried and hugged and just like collapsed to the floor, and we're like, oh, what have we done? Oh my God, this is crazy. So that was that. And then I like took a digital test a couple days later, and then I'm trying to think like how soon after we were able to go to our like first appointment. I'm not sure. It was a while, honestly. You know what? Scratch that. December 5th, we were going home for Christmas and hadn't done our first like actual OB appointment yet. But we wanted to tell our families on Christmas, even though that was like very early on in my pregnancy. We knew that like if we knew before then, we wanted to tell them at Christmas just because it would be so special. So we actually went to like a private ultrasound place when I was at like 8 weeks, and did one of those just so we had like something. I mean, the baby looked like a gummy bear, but we ended up telling our families at Christmas. Another pregnancy question I got was just like, how are you? How's baby? Healthy? Like, is everything going well? Yes. At our 20-week anatomy scan, they did see something that they just like weren't sure what it was. So then we had to do a level 2 scan and then go in for a scan at 28 weeks. And at the 28-week one, which was about a month ago, they weren't able to see it anymore. So that was a huge answered prayer. And then we actually went in this morning for another scan just to be sure, and still not there anymore. So it seems like it maybe was just like an error, or just like some sort of reflection or something in the that initial scan where it was like spotted, so to speak. So that's good. He is very big. So I think like macrosomia is like the official word for like, he's just a big boy. And I know like fetal weight estimates can be off. So they try to tell you like how much they think. Sorry, you can see like the stack of baby shower stuff over there. Let me just turn that a little. They try to tell you like an estimate of how big baby is, but they say like they can be off. So their estimate this morning was that he is 6 pounds and 2 ounces at 32 weeks. chunky man. But not even that measurement. It's not like just the estimate that is big. So like the length of his femur is 3 weeks longer than it should be. And like the circumference of his head is 3 weeks bigger than it should be. The circumference of his belly is 3 weeks and some days bigger than it should be. So he's just big. So that's interesting, but he's healthy otherwise. I don't have gestational diabetes. I know that's a concern with like big babies, but I passed my glucose test. So that's great. I've been feeling really good. Honestly, my first trimester, I did not have any morning sickness. I mean, like, knock on wood. But, like, I was good. I was good to go, which is crazy. The one time I was sick was when I was driving by myself, sorry for the clapping, to Florida for Christmas, because Jake, they had like a game on the 22nd and it was like snowing, like the weather was really bad. So I had to like get out a day early and do the 2-day drive by myself, and like he had to try to find a flight. Anyways, all of that day I was alone with the dog, and we were doing our 2-day drive, just me and the dog. Okay. I got so sick, and I thought it was like, oh my gosh, this is like the morning sickness is starting now. Like of all the times for me to start feeling sick, because I was like 5.5 weeks pregnant at this point. I was like, oh my God, no, like I have to do the drive by myself. So I ended up spilling the beans to my mom. I called my mom and I was crying and I was like, Mom, this is not how I wanted to tell you, but I'm pregnant and I think I'm having morning sickness and I cannot make this 2-day drive on my own because I'm literally like getting sick while I'm driving down the highway. And so then like we cried on the phone and I was like, don't you dare tell anyone, because we had this whole thing planned where we're going to surprise everyone on Christmas Eve. And so I ruined the surprise. Turns out food poisoning. Wasn't even morning sickness. So I ruined it for nothing, because I made it to Nashville on the first day and stopped in Nashville. My mom flew from Orlando to Nashville and Ubered to the hotel where I had gotten to with my dog so that she could like help me because I was so sick. So she like brought medicine, Gatorade, all the things. Next morning, guess who drove? Because guess who was totally fine the next day? Because guess who had food poisoning and not morning sickness? So guess who didn't have to tell her mom and ruin the surprise? Anyways, that was the only time I was sick. Other than that, I felt great for my entire pregnancy. I will say now that I'm like 3rd trimester, sleeping was a little more difficult because of like heartburn. That's really fun. So just, you know, Tums and Pepsid, my best friend. And also I'm like running out of real estate because he's a big guy. So I get like rib pain in my back. It just like gets worse throughout the day. But I asked my doctor about that fun fact, and he said that in pregnancy, sometimes babies can even break their mom's ribs and there's nothing that they can do. How fun is that? So anyways, yeah, just a little bit of rib pain, but other than that, we good. And his due date, like I said, is August 21st. However, with him being so big, we're gonna end up doing another growth scan at like 36, 37 weeks, and then go from there as far as like what the plan will be. If we're just gonna try to like wait it out and let him go naturally, like whenever labor starts, or if it's like we need to do a C-section or an induction. I mean, at this point, I just want him to be healthy. So we'll see how that goes at 36 weeks, but there's all of the pregnancy updates. Okay, there's that. I had to go get my phone charger. But before I sit back down, here is a little belly shot of Little Man. Also, I keep calling him Little Man, but like his name is Lincoln. We've already named him, so figured I should just tell you guys when I'm getting comfy. I have a little pillow I'm sitting on. Okay. So his name is not Little Man. His name is Lincoln Michael Kurtz. So there's that. But, oh, I'm out of breath. Okay. I think I have caught my breath enough. Plugged my phone in because my phone was about to die before I got to the juiciest hot goss, the tea of all tea of this video. So many questions about next year. Are you staying in kindergarten? Are you moving? Are you going to a different school? Are you going to teach next year? What are your plans for next year? What you're going to do next year? So many questions, which I totally, fully understand. So I'm going to answer them. Let's is crazy. Okay, so with Lincoln's due date being the 21st and knowing, okay, it could come like a little sooner, a little after, our first day of school is supposed to be August 15th, I think. So it's like a Wednesday, a Thursday, and a Friday. And then that weekend was my due date. And then I would be out. I was going to take 12 weeks. Someone asked, like, how much leave are you going to take? So clearly I'm talking in past tense. My plan was to take 12 weeks, and that would put me back at school like early November. That's what we were planning. And I already had a maternity sub. She was actually the mother of one of my like students from this past year. She came in, she'd already like accepted the position and came in to do some observations and everything. And then we started to look at daycare and try to find a daycare for him to start going to in November when he was 3 months old, which I know people do. But that's also like right at the beginning of basketball season. I think like the God wink moment for me, big sign from the universe, was that when I had mapped out my leave and like how many days that I was allowed to take, it fell like on the day of my husband's first game. And so I was like, oh my gosh, what, like, that's crazy. Basketball season starting. Okay, now let me go back to work, and like I'm gonna have to take him to daycare. And anyways, all that to say, I resigned. I am, oh my gosh, it's weird to say that out loud. I am not teaching next year. I'm gonna stay home next year to be with Lincoln and to be a mama and just focus on that. I think it's hard for me because there are like a lot of reasons, you know, that people take a break from teaching or leave teaching. I love teaching. I love my school. I love my teammate. So it's a really hard choice for me to make in the sense that I'm leaving something that I really, really enjoy and love. And I know like it will be okay and it will be worth it, and you never get the time back, and it's going to be okay, but it's a bittersweet choice for me. So a lot of it, all of it really is motivated just by our circumstances, and not anything that like happened at school or any sort of like falling out or like general unhappiness with my job. Like I just want to reiterate, like I love my school. Having that conversation with my principal, we both cried. I said like every day that I have shown up to work here, I have loved being here. So please know that it has nothing to do with like our school or our family, like our little staff family, nothing at all. But like I said, let me just explain. So we were looking at daycare, and obviously the cost of childcare in our country is astounding and shocking. So that was a lot. But that being said, not enough because he's one child. Two, I don't know, might be a different case. We could still make money from me working with me paying for daycare, if that makes sense. So as far as like financially, we were still on the like plus side, even after the cost of a daycare. So that I was like, okay, it's a lot of money to pay for someone to take my little 3-month-old while I go into my job with other people's children, but I'm still going to be making money, if that makes sense. And it was still like a good amount of money. So I'm like, okay, it's not totally a wash there. But then there are so many other factors that are specific to like our family unit and really kind of my husband's job. So I started thinking about the fact that even when it's just me and the dog, and Jake is out of town, I wake up around 5 a.m. so that I can make sure that I'm able to walk the dog, get him to eat breakfast, get myself ready, me eat breakfast, pack my lunch, get on the road because it's about a 40-minute drive to where I was teaching. And I would have to take Teddy, our dog, to a doggy daycare because he can't be in the crate all day long if I'm going to work at like that early and I don't get back until like 4:30 because our contract time was at 3:40. So he would just literally be in the crate for hours and hours. So on the days there, like he didn't go to daycare, my husband would come home at lunch and let him out. Well, if Jake is on the road for an away game, like I mentioned, I'm doing everything kind of solo. So in that sense, it's like solo parenting. So then I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this with a newborn who's 3 months old? If my husband's on the road for away games and stuff, I'm going to then have to make sure that I can get up, walk the dog, make the dog breakfast, make sure the baby's good, feed him breakfast, like get myself ready, feed myself breakfast. It just was so much. I'm like, I don't want to wake my newborn up at 4 a.m. so that I can do all of these things. So that was just starting to really kind of like cause a lot of anxiety for me. Just really thinking about like those solo parenting days and like how I would do it. And then on top of that and I know there are single parents who do it. So I know that it's humanly possible. I just was feeling so much anxiety about that situation for myself and for our family, and just it was causing a lot of stress. So then on top of that, in my mind, I was thinking, well, at least it's not my first year in kindergarten or my first year at this school. So I already know the school and I know like the drill, so to speak, with kindergarten. So that was kind of like, that's okay. Like it's not going to be all new. Well, then they decided in our district to totally redo all of the reading curriculum. So that was like, okay, how am I going to write sub-plans for the first 3 months of the school year with a curriculum that I've never even seen before? Because we didn't even have it yet at the end of the year. And then on top of that, I'm like, it will be new to me because this is all new. So, and that's just, par for the course. You get new curriculum. I understand that happens. So then I'm like, okay, well, it's not all going to be like, oh, it's like riding a bike. I know what to do. No, it's new. Then on top of that, the fact that I was going to be missing the first 3 months of kindergarten. Okay, think back in this video to when I talked about how it takes so long to get the classroom running the right way so that you can like learn productively. But it's all worth it because you invest all that time and energy, and then by like November, December, you're cooking with gas. Okay, I would literally miss the first 3 months and then show up in my exhausted postpartum new mom stupor to try to put all that toothpaste back in the tube of like having missed the first 3 months of kindergarten and try to make that a productive learning space, knowing that we've already used 3 months of the school year and we need to be rocking and rolling, but they don't know who I am. I mean, I can leave as many sub-plans as I want to, but the classroom is not going to be like functioning like you would function a classroom. Do you get what I'm saying? So that was really kind of weighing on me too, because I'm like, okay, it's not even like I'm leaving mid-year and then I'm coming back and returning to something that I have established. No, I'm going to be coming into, not that I don't feel that the maternity sub would have done a wonderful job. She would have done amazing, I'm sure. But you know what I'm saying? It's not your room. Like you're coming in, you've missed the whole first part of the year. Like you don't get to set the tone. You know what I'm saying? So that in combination with the new curriculum, in combination with my husband's job and just like the general anxiety of how do I do this? Like I can't physically do this on top of like the cost of childcare. So all of those factors combined, my husband and I sat down and just took like a hard look financially at everything and kind of thought like, okay, can we do this? And fortunately for this year, for our family, we can. So I resigned and I will be home. It was a very hard decision to make. I will say I like cried so many times. I cried to my husband, to my teammate because we were a team of 2 and I love her with my whole heart and she knows that. We're going to actually be hanging out soon, like this weekend, so I'll get to see her soon, but besides the point, it's just like, it wasn't a school I was ready to leave, if that makes sense. And I wavered a lot on this choice until literally not the last week of school, but the week prior. Like it was like the Friday before the last week of school is when I submitted my resignation letter, had the conversation, and it wasn't for like trying to keep it a secret or something. It really just took me that long to like fully decide and commit that like we were going to do this. So that is my plan for next year. I will be not teaching kindergarten, not teaching first grade, not teaching any grade. I will be home. With that being said, as far as like working, kind of what am I going to be doing? I am going to be doing a lot more creating for TPT. I've been kind of like scaling up my Teachers Pay Teachers store since the school year ended in May, trying to like build up my products as much as I can and really just kind of like hone my craft, so to speak, as like a product designer before little man comes. So I have been posting a lot more products there since the school year ended, and kind of looking forward to more, creative expression there on Teachers Pay Teachers. And question for you guys. I also am wanting to come back to YouTube and film more videos and really vlogs. Like I love vlogging. This kind of video is not super natural for me, just like sitting down and talking at a camera. Whereas like sharing my life and things like that, I really, really love vlogging. So I've kind of thought about this in a few different directions. Sorry, I felt like I was on the verge of a ramble. So my thought, leave Putting Them First alone, leave all of my teaching content on Putting Them First, and start a new channel that is more mom, family, like lifestyle focused. And if you'd love to follow me there, you may. And if you don't want to, you won't be subjected to any of the videos because they won't be here on Putting Them First. I also want to preserve Putting Them First, for my own just like selfish memories, because I love watching like the little, like my first year when I was a hot mess, love watching those, but also because I really fully believe that I'm going to return to teaching, if not like after this 1 year, like very soon thereafter, because I love teaching and like I know I'm gonna miss it. I already have so much FOMO about next school year, which I know will like, I'll be busy enough, like I'll be okay. But anyways, I want to have Putting Them First to like come back to. And so I want to really like keep it super teacher focused. So anyways, if you would be interested, let me know, because I think I might start a new channel. And if you have any channel name ideas at Putting Lincoln First, just kidding, let me know. But that is all for today, y'all. I'm sorry that was so long. It was such a long-winded update, but that is how my year was, how my pregnancy was, what my plans are. Yay. More teaching videos. I mean, it's the summer and obviously I'm not teaching next year. However, I had to move everything out of my classroom, as you do. So I am going to be having a teacher garage sale, which is crazy. I'm not getting rid of everything. I am not selling my rainbow bins or my hot pink chair. Will never, but I am going to be getting rid of a lot of things. So I thought maybe I would vlog that and put that here on Putting Them First, just like teacher garage sale, and just kind of like see how that goes. If y'all are in like the Northern Illinois area, the Chicago burbs, and you're in the market for anything that you've seen in my classroom, stay tuned because there's gonna be a garage sale soon. But anyways, I love y'all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your support, and those of you who have been checking on me while I was pregnant, saying like, how are you? I hope everything's great. I really appreciate it. I've missed you guys, and I am so scared to post this on the internet. Ah! Okay, here we go. Bye.